From Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana, this is the Grouch and the Brainstorm. Episode 27. 27, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here today. This is Mike, and I'm here with Matt.
What's up?
And Jill.
Hello.
And we are recording another episode of the Grouch and the Brainstorm. Let's catch up first, man. What's been going on with you, Matt, in the past week?
Let's see. I'm still not a millionaire, guys. I hadn't achieved that yet. Just wanted to update that for anybody out there.
Somebody needs to break change for $1 billion for you to be.
Maybe. But everything's good. Took a job actually in treatment. Got a job, so doing that, working at a treatment center, enjoying that. So life is good. Fixing to go do some intense work with another alcoholic in a 21.5-foot Skeeter bass boat, my sponsor and I. So
sure,
it's gonna be intense. I don't know how much
sure,
AA
Matt.
work is gonna be done. AA work's gonna be done, but we're gonna try it.
Well, you got to get that out of the way. It's gonna get pretty cold here pretty soon.
Well, oh man, we fish. I have pictures of us with coveralls and earmuffs in Louisiana fishing. We have some of us are sicker than others. If they ever start an AA for bass fishermen, we're in. So
an AA for bass fishing. I imagine there's one somewhere.
I have a problem. I know that's the first step, but I have a problem. So.
Someone will call in and say, "How about the kiddos?
Step.
How are the kiddos?"
Everybody's good. Everybody's good. They're living the dream. The grandkid is he's doing his thing. I talked to him last night. FaceTime is an awesome thing when you have kids, and he's got his own F-150 plastic truck that he's zooming around the house. I'm like, dude, that truck's nicer than mine.
It's an F-150. It'll be broke down pretty soon.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't have the art to tell him.
You got a Ford, son.
But yeah, everything's great, man. Everything is great. So.
Well, how about you, Jill? What you been up to? Now, I know you told your story. What last week?
Yeah, I did. Halloween night. Did that. This is my schedule. I go to work, spread the message in the prison system, and come home, maybe go to a meeting, maybe go play pickleball.
Pickleball.
Yes, and so right now I'm remodeling my house. So there's been a lot of painting, a lot of sanding, and I also cleaned out the attic, which I don't think anybody's been up there in 30 years.
I thought we were in the attic. I thought the studio was the attic.
Jill had the biggest stack of National Geographics in human history.
Right, and I remember when they came in, I was just always so excited. And I read those as a kid, and it was interesting to learn about other cultures and other countries. So... But they had to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I found like a 1940s Bronco dilator in my attic.
What is that?
Like a nebula. It's to help you breathe. There's like I said, there's stuff from like World War II and before.
I like looking in those National Geographics, and they sell like a new car, and it's $7,100.
Oh yeah,
and they're like, it might have air conditioning, it might not.
Yeah, when I was a kid, that was expensive.
That was top dollar, man.
You added air
Can't
for the
hide
rich folk.
money, you know what I'm saying?
You didn't need air when you had one of them little windows that
the cigarette window.
Yeah.
So, Mike, tell us what you've been up to.
Oh, just my usual. I had a. My regular life really just consists of getting up and going to work and going to home. I've started going to a noon meeting in Fort Worth, Texas, and it seems to be a fairly good meeting. I would equate it kind of like the noon meeting at the Koala Club here. It's an older crowd, a lot of years of sobriety. If there's a newcomer here and there that comes in, and some of those that have been around for, a year or so, some in there, but, it's just 10 people tops, I think, is the most I've seen in one meeting. And it's called the Legacy Meeting, I believe, is the name of it. But there's something, it's closed. It's a closed meeting, which I wasn't used to here in Bossier. And it has, they have the same meeting, but again at 6 p.m. So the Legacy meeting is at 6 p.m. and at noon. It's at
Interesting.
Same topic or different?
No, I mean it's different people. It's just called, and the Burleson Group over in Burleson is the same way. The name of the club is the Burleson Group. The name of the group is the Burleson Group, and the Burleson Group meets 3 times a day.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of, kind of fancy schmancy, I guess, to have a meeting so large. You got to divide it up into 3 different sections. But I closed meetings seems to be a huge thing over there, which is just something I'm not used to. Of course, I'm not. I'm an alcoholic, and I have a desire to stop drinking, so I don't have a problem going to a closed meeting. It's just I'm just not used to that. If that makes sense, it's just different for me. And last night for the first, yesterday I believe, I may be wrong, was the first time I've seen my grandson since his diagnosis,
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
And so I went and picked him and my son up at my son's apartment. And we, my grandson, we threw the car seat in the back and we went to Grapevine Mills Mall over in Grapevine, Texas. And I was looking for a particular store, but I really just wanted to spend a little time with them. So we got out and walked around the mall. Man, it is beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go.
Yes.
Work. And then
sure.
and then you go to the malls and everybody's just really trying to get a big jump on the whole Christmas thing. And it's and everywhere, they have this giant, I guess it's a dump truck. Maybe I should have paid more attention, but it's made out of Legos. Right in the middle of the mall. It's enclosed in a glass case, but he was just fascinated. Actually, I was kind of fascinated by it because I couldn't have built one of the tires, much less the whole thing out of Legos. So, we got a little chance to do that. He did not get to go trick-or-treating this year. Yeah, we couldn't do the whole trick-or-treating thing. And
I just don't understand why everybody got to hate on Thanksgiving, man. That's like the best holiday ever, and we just skip it. As soon as Halloween's over, Christmas.
No, Thanksgiving is a big part of my life because
Yeah, me
that's
too. It's the
the
best
only
holiday.
time in the year I eat cornbread dressing, and it's like my favorite side dish ever. It's actually my main dish when it comes to Thanksgiving dinner.
But
'Cause
it's like the most chill, perfect holiday.
It really is.
You hang out,
It's
you watch
cozy.
football. Yeah, it's no pressure, man. It's just hanging out, So
man, I might be in town for Thanksgiving this year. We're closed. I don't really have to be anywhere till Friday morning for Black Friday.
I took Ben. He's been on this program. I took Ben to my uncle's last year for Thanksgiving, and we were going to the Koala Club afterwards. And Ben ate so much that he laid out on the chairs behind the thing and fell asleep in the meeting. And somebody goes, "Is he drunk?" And I went, "Nope, he's got the meat sweats right now." He just
meat sweats, like on the Progressive commercial.
Bruh, he was hurting, dude. He slept through the whole meeting. So
Wow.
we will do that again this year.
Well, that and that makes for an interesting topic that I wanted to go ahead and talk about this and release this, get it out there before we dive off into the holidays. And so we record multiple episodes, and depending on when we release an episode, it may get out there past the holidays. And I think dealing with the holidays is something that needs to be discussed. And if that makes any sense. Now, firsthand, man, I'm going to tell you, I didn't need a holiday to drink. I didn't need a holiday to do foolish stuff. However, it was a really good excuse, and you're thinking, man, we're going into the holidays and I haven't drank in, I don't know, let's just say 2 weeks. I got 2 weeks under my belt and I've been attending these meetings, but I know I got Thanksgiving dinner coming and everybody in my family drinks wine at Thanksgiving and oh Lord, what am I going to do? Now look, I'm going to tell you now, okay? I've been sober for, I don't know, a little bit. And been sober for 12 years, a little over 12 years. And still to this day, I have a little ice machine in my home, right? Makes, ice. And I'll come home from work and I'll flip on the Paramount Plus and pull up an episode of NCIS New Orleans. And I'll put me some ice in a glass and sprinkle some lime in there and put tonic water and just drink straight tonic water and ice and lime and absolutely just love it. Soda water as well. And, but that's just been a habit of mine since back in the day. You go to a family function. I never really did family functions. And even if I did, they wasn't drinking, But you go somewhere and people are drinking. Well, I would just bring Perrier, fancy water. I'd bring a Perrier and carry it around drinking, kind of looks like an O'Doul's, I guess, if you
No.
San Pellegrino, but I would, that's what I would do. I would carry them around, and after a while, you just got so much fizz in your stomach, you don't really feel like, but there can also be depressing moments that pop up, during those holidays, and I don't know, for some reason, our go-to is a drink whenever you're in those depressing moments. I remember that first year, and it was I got sober in June. So it was 6 months out, from the holiday, 5 months out from Thanksgiving. And I remember thinking to myself, am I going to get through my first Thanksgiving sober? 5 months. You kind of, at 5 months, I was pretty, I was into the program by 5 months. I was working steps, visiting sponsor, doing all the things I needed to do to stay sober one day at a time. And, but you still look up and go, am I going to, what's life going to look like after Christmas? But the only guarantee is I knew what it would look like if I did drink. I knew exactly what life was going to look like, and it wasn't going to be pretty because it hadn't been my track record, So, holidays coming up, a lot of pressure, a lot of things going. I'll say this, and, we'll open up for discussion, but I'll say this, and if you have to ask the question, should I?
Yeah.
The answer is no.
Yep.
If you have to ask that question. And I'll tell a little story about one of my experiences in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and life. I had I think it was June of my second year. I was coming up on my second year. No, I was coming up on my first year of recovery. How about that? The first sober year, June 2012, I believe. And a buddy of mine had asked me to go to a wedding, his wedding in Destin, Florida. And I had never been east of Louisiana sober. And I'd been to Destin a lot. That was a big drinking spot in my life. And he asked me to go. And, I go back and I made the meeting topic, 5:30 meeting one day, should I go to Destin, And you go around the room, and everybody says, well, you get just 100 different opinions, and we'll talk about what the big book says about all of this here in a little bit. But you get 100 different opinions about, if you're spiritually fit, if you're prayed up, if you're, all of these, all of the things we hear in the rooms of AA, and all of which may be true. Hey, so I had deduced it to, I'm going to Destin, right? I had put it in my mind, I'm going to go to Destin and see my friends get married on the beach, which, to be honest with you, looking back now, great guy, love him to death. His wife's a great lady. I don't care nothing about going to the beach and watching anybody get married, period, right? So I was telling myself, though, telling myself, the dumbest person I know is who I'm listening to.
I do that too.
You do that.
I listen to him a lot.
Well, it comes up about 2 weeks before I'm supposed to go to this wedding. I mean, maybe even a week, right? And I'd already planned on, I'm going to drive there and, this is where I'm going to stay and all this other stuff. And I got a phone call one morning, I believe it was a Friday morning, and it said, hey, you've been transferred to another store starting tomorrow. And at that point, all plans were off, And I went to that other store, and I was there for 10 months, Buddy got married, had a great wedding. I even watched, I think, some of it online. You could do that a little bit back then. It was choppy. But long story short, God did for me what I couldn't do for myself because I was not ready to go to that wedding. And no different than the holidays or any of the other thing. Now, little disclosure here. I'm not encouraging people not to go to functions. I'm not encouraging people not to, listen to your sponsor when it comes to all that. Talk to your sponsor. The best thing to do is stay in communication with your sponsor. don't not tell your sponsor I'm not going. Right. You want everybody and their brother to know so they can keep up with you and make sure you're all right. But for me and my little bit of experience when it comes to that is, and I've got a lot of holiday stories, but when it comes to that particular thing, that was God doing for me what I could not do for myself, because had I listened to myself, I would have ended up destined with almost a year sober, and I just don't know how that would have turned out. And that was they ain't like they're going to cancel all the alcohol plans because Mike's showing up.
Right.
So,
well, you also got to be aware of your triggers.
Oh yeah, triggers.
I mean, avoid.
Is Taco Tuesday a holiday? I just want to clear that up. Is that included? Because that was a holiday I liked. Any holiday.
That's not a holiday.
You go on Instagram and they're like, today is National Garbage Worker Day. I'm like, that's a holiday. Or today's Animal Catcher Guy Day. Or whatever.
I think they have a name. What do they call my mom and dad used to call him the dog catcher.
Pet control? Animal
Pest
control.
control. Animal control. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the holidays.
Sidetracked there. I was just wanting to clear up holidays.
I'm glad you did.
Technically, Taco Tuesday could be, if you have an issue with drinking on Taco Tuesday.
It's listening to that guy in his own head thing you were just talking about, So, what about you, Jill?
The holidays can be stressful for people that aren't sober. It's a time when families come together, and sometimes for a lot of people, our biggest trigger is family. And I'm not speaking that for myself, but my first Thanksgiving sober, I just got sober in February, and I was still living in the halfway house. And so my cousins all came in. I think, no, they weren't. So anyway, my family all came in, and so we had Thanksgiving, and I didn't have all the things like the Xanax, the beer, and all this stuff that kind of like chilled me out.
Yeah.
But it was very chaotic, and I remember just like feeling really uncomfortable. Like super uncomfortable. I was starting to have anxiety. Just everybody was really loud. My cousins are very loud. They were drinking, and it just continued to get a little bit more elevated. And I just went to my mother and I just said, I can't do this. I need to go back to my safe place, which was the halfway house. So I drove all the way back. I told everybody, listen, I'm sorry, but like, this is incredibly triggering for me. And I drove back 2 hours to the halfway house and just stayed there by myself. But it's like, I couldn't be there at that moment. And of course, like, it doesn't affect me in that way anymore, but I do have to be careful around the holiday seasons. Cause like one of my go-tos for decades before, for a long time before I got sober was self-pity at this time of year. I look around and it's still the same old shit show, and I'm still single. I still, I don't have I have a family, but I don't have my own family. And that can be saddening to me because you see, everything is based at this time of year of just family and it makes me feel incredibly like alone in this world. And I have to, I'm very aware of that. And I like to, make sure that I take care of myself and make meetings and do everything I can, because typically like these feelings don't bother me on a day-to-day basis. It just seems like during the holiday season, I keep saying seasoning.
Yeah.
Like what the
You are in Louisiana.
She's apparently thinking a lot about whatever she's going to put on her food later on today. The holiday seasoning, which consists of pumpkin spice and everything nice.
But guys, I know I'm not the only one that this happens to. I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel slightly ostracized this time of year. And this is the deal. This is just one of my cognitive distortions, my false and irrational beliefs. I have more friends and family than most people do, and I'm loved and I'm accepted and everything's typically great. But this is when I start getting into my kind of, my self-pity and things like that. And it's just, like I work on it and I stay on top of it, but it's just something that I've been doing for so long. I can't expect it just to like disappear. I am grateful. I'm grateful for my family and my friends and everybody else. But I'm sure for a lot of us, it can be a very triggering time of year.
Did either one of you guys like grow up in the family that I'm not making fun. Please don't think I am making
Oh gosh, I'm scared.
But like everybody wore the same pajamas on Christmas Eve. And
We still do.
Bro.
Yeah. Did
Why'd you had to bring that up?
Did you, Matt?
This happened 2 years ago in sobriety. My mother ordered.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was not that cool. You
Well,
know?
I mean, a bunch of, middle-aged folks.
I mean,
I like it.
everybody had them things on. Okay.
I can see where the
Yeah, I know
triggers
girls
are
like
coming
it.
out now.
I know girls like it, but yeah.
They all got the open flap on the butt.
Oh man,
No,
Look,
no.
that actually came in handy, but that's another story. So
Yeah.
we did do that one time. We didn't do that growing up, but yeah, for some reason.
And Jill, you did. You had that kind of.
Not growing up, but
So everybody waits till they're grown to do this.
well,
I didn't wait. I got forced into it. It wasn't my choice,
it's something, my family's broken. My parents divorced, and I don't know, I guess Christmases and stuff were weird, but my sister started that tradition, and she wanted traditions for her kids since like a lot of ours just went to shit. But like I stay every Christmas Eve with my sister and the kids. I have since they were born, since they were babies, and I
Yeah.
do it every year. That's our new tradition. My sister gets pajamas for everybody, except for the guys. It's just, my mother, myself, my
Don't let
sister.
Matt's mom find out. She'll ship some over there.
Jill, you're
And my
in on
niece.
the pajama deal. You can take my place. You know what I'm saying? Open spot.
We do Christmas dinner in our pajamas, just kind of loaf around in pajamas all day. But, when I think about like sobriety and, my Christmas, I really can enjoy it and I can be present now. I don't feel the need because normally those Christmases and Thanksgivings when I was not sober was me, I guess, kind of like white knuckling it and trying. I'm irritable. I'm restless. I'm discontent.
So you tried to stay dry through the motions.
Well, I was taking pills, but like not drink.
Gotcha.
And I just ended up getting so like, and so irritable that I would just, all I could think about was me getting out of there
Oh, yeah.
so I could leave and drink.
So like mine dealing with holidays, and I'm going to expand that to just like events, period, in sobriety. There was a line where I shouldn't go, period. Like you're talking about the Destin thing. I'm not ready for that. But it became a thing of, because of a little bit of time going by, it's like, I'm not going to stop my life. If my family has invited me to something, or I'm not just going to be in this cocoon of, so there was some uncomfortable at some of those events for the first time. Now I don't think a thing about it, and I just roll right on. Never does alcohol. It just doesn't bother me at all. But most of the first time events in sobriety were kind of a little, edgy. And I'll just give you the one advice my sponsor's given me throughout the whole deal. He says it all the time. You got your car keys in your pocket, don't you? And I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
He goes, just leave.
I always make a meeting on holidays.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Yeah, I used to always think to myself, I'm going for that person that doesn't have anybody at a meeting. But realistically, I'm going for me.
Yeah.
I need to go for me.
On New
Right?
Year's, I'm going for Mr. Jerry's Black Eyed Peas. That's why I'm going.
Well, and they have good food there too. I will admit, at the Koala Club anyway, they have good
Okay.
Man.
Very nice.
And triggers, holidays, it made me think a couple of things. I was in retail. I've been in retail for, I don't know, since 1988, so 34 years, 35 years, and all my holidays spent working. And then as soon as the bell goes off and you can get out of there, and you're usually the last one to get out. you're going straight to a liquor store. I was going straight to a liquor store. By the time I got home to do the whole pajama fire marshmallow thing, I was, lit up and all that other stuff. And then, kids were grown by the time, I say grown, they were 13 and 11 by the time I got actual sober. But, yesterday, I talked about, I took my took my son and my grandson to Grapevine Mills. And that even brings back like emotions that I haven't felt in years, because when my son was a child, little kid, push around, even younger than my grandson, so maybe 3, and my daughter maybe 2, 1, we would go to Grapevine Mills and buy their Christmas. And, so we would walk around this circle. It's like, I don't know, half a mile around, maybe a mile. But we would walk around, and you go back there and you start thinking about those kind of things. It can bring back feelings that you haven't had in a long time. And, and if you're not spiritually fit, if you're not involved, if you're not up to date with your AA stuff or any spiritual program you got going, if you're not rolling like that, I could see where it would be an emotional self-pity trigger.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's call it what it is. It's self-pity.
Absolutely.
I went back out on Christmas Eve night one time. I got sober in 2000. So 2010, on Christmas Eve night, I'm sitting there in my apartment watching television.
Grinch.
Well, I don't remember. I was watching my TV. I was by myself. Poor me, by myself on Christmas Eve. Everybody's across town don't love me. And then all of a sudden some fella pops up on TV and asks me if I Tanqueray. Then I was like, oh.
Mike said, do I?
I don't know.
Why, yes, I do.
I don't know if I ever have. But tonight's the night, Rod Stewart. and and I say that and I laugh about it now, but that sent my life into a 6-month spiral. That particular night, and I went on a 6-month spiral that had to happen. It absolutely had to happen, or I would have never gotten to a point where that I had been beaten down enough to get sober. So that came out of the holidays. But the thing about that, when I got into recovery, I got reminded, you're not doing any of this stuff alone, right? You're not, none of it. There is somebody out there, even those hardcore AA guys that have been around for 25 years, 30 years, they would stop what they were doing and meet a newcomer, somebody with 1 month at a club, or have them over to their house, which is what I found was really cool. Like, this person's inviting me to their home on a holiday. And it's not because they feel sorry for me. It's because they don't want to go meet me somewhere, but they want me to be okay and they want to be with their family. It's a win-win for those guys. So, and we also got to think about regional holidays too, because, and when I was living down there in the South, down there Covington, Mandeville area, Mardi Gras is way bigger.
Absolutely. You're off the whole week.
Oh, they're off. Everybody. Well, I wasn't, but most people, like, schools let out for a week, and it's a holiday. It's to me, and I'm not from there, but to me, it looked as big as Christmas.
It's huge.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure they have other regional holidays that can be, stuff we don't think about. Whenever they start serving crawfish here, you hear a lot of shares in the meeting. I went to my first crawfish boil, and I didn't have any beer. And the pressure of some of these things, I can imagine on the newcomer. We've all had to get through them though.
I will tell y'all a little trick that I've noticed in the past few years. Okay, so used to be. This is something I've learned on my own, and I took this from Mr. Joe and a few of those old guys. He always shares his things to do during the holidays. This time of year, always like that. And he always talks about having a drink in your hand that doesn't look like, a bottle of water. So people assume that you're having a drink, so they don't bug you about, do you want a drink, right? What's awesome these days is everybody drinks out of those tumblers. So you don't know what they're drinking, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
just get a tumbler, man.
Yeah.
You can have whatever you want. If you want water in it, yeah. I mean,
everybody drinks energy drinks.
Well, yeah, or energy drinks. So, but that's was half the battle for me early on, was the people going, I didn't want to drink, but then people I don't see often coming up at crawfish boil, whatever. You want that? Yeah. You want? No, I'm good. That's the weird part, is just being like, no. I'm horrible. I can't drink
Well,
at all.
and it is hard for a lot of people because there's like tons of Christmas parties.
Oh man.
There's alcohol there, and
What?
I'm sure a lot of people relapse at that point.
Jill, you've been sober 13 years.
Yes.
Matt, 6, 5.
Vibe.
Has anybody ever actually offered y'all a drink?
Oh yeah.
Have they? I've never.
No.
I've never. I've been to business functions. I've been to any. Just picture it. Whatever it is, I've been. I've been here. I've been abroad. All over. No one's ever said. I mean, I'm like, y'all must have heard. Shit goes bad. When
I mean, I
get a
have
drink.
been offered a couple of drinks.
I haven't.
I'll
Since
tell
I've
you
been
to
sober.
the extent mine. I guess I'm just that guy that I look like I need a drink all the time. I'm on the river.
Maybe they say
summer.
he's already acting stupid. Let's
I'm
get
on
him a
the
drink to
river
go.
this summer. There's a huge guy with no shirt on. Me and some people are tubing down the river. He comes out with a Kool-Aid pitcher, and I don't know what's in it, but I know it was alcohol. He's standing out there, and we're floating by. Let me get y'all a drink. He's pouring drinks. I'm like, nah, I'm good. You don't look good. Take one of these. I'm like, I promise I'm good.
Thanks.
You know.
The only person I ever known offered a drink by the Kool-Aid man.
I was about to say, was
Oh,
it
yeah.
the
They
were having
actual, like, old school?
No, like a plastic
Oh,
picture.
okay. I thought
know,
you
that
meant
you
like
make
the-
tea in.
Tupperware.
But he
The little thing
had
on
a
the top.
bar. He had a bar set up on the beach there on the grass. He was making drinks, and then they were standing out in the water in the middle of the river. So as people floated by, they're handing out drinks, and I'm just like, I'm good, man. And he's like, you don't look good. I'm like, well, I'm gonna keep floating.
So that's not very safe.
No, bro, my whole life,
I'm just
my whole
saying.
life
Water
ain't
and
been very
alcohol?
safe.
Hey, you're tubing down a river, and this guy's offering up a picture of Kool-Aid or alcoholic Kool-Aid.
That's how I used to live. I'm like, you
Wait.
know, like,
You didn't do high risk activities?
Mainly just slept.
no, we life was a game.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it wasn't any fun. If it
But Matt's
wasn't.
like, I know what it's like to be that guy.
I've been on the river many, many times as that guy. And
Oh, yes.
it was my first time not to be talking about Destin and the beach, you know. My head just went Panama City when you said Destin. So
Yeah, well, I
Been
mean,
there,
it's
done that.
Same white sand, blue water,
yeah.
sunburn, stay in a hotel for the whole week while the family goes out because you're too burn up from getting drunk under the
Oh
sun.
man. Yeah.
Dehydrated, feeling like hell.
Many trips to Florida.
Half of the thing with drinking though for me was like in those type situations was where am I going to find myself in the morning? That was the kicker of the whole deal. Like, you know, don't know. Wake up. Where
Well,
are we?
That's here.
I mean,
I
yeah.
got drunk here. Where am I going to find myself when I wake up in the morning?
Well, I think a good thing for maybe newcomers and for anybody else that may be listening is, I mean, we are at the time of the year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's,
Trifecta.
where it's celebrated heavily with alcohol or other party favors. Hell, I don't know. And that you do have a game plan coming into it. Because I think that protects you. I mean, I know that I can contact my sponsor. I know that I'm going to go to meetings. But for the newcomer, you may not have that like list of things that, you know, you are going to do in case of an emergency. Because like I said, you may end up somewhere where people are drinking. If you're triggered, like, are you just going to sit in that trigger and let it evolve into a relapse? Or are you going to do something to stop that trigger from moving forward?
And that's like the name of the game with people. Probably the question I get asked the most, 30-day early sobriety people. Well, I still think about it. I still have that thought. And I'm like, you're going to have that the rest of your life. Welcome to being in recovery. You can't do nothing about that.
I really don't.
You can't pop that. Oh, I mean, but you have to set that early in sobriety and go, okay, it's a thought of doing it. What am I going to do with that thought? Just drop it and go on with your day.
Yeah.
You know, and you may have to do all that, call your sponsor and do all that. I don't have to do that as much nowadays, but I still have that thought, you know, or, you know, crawfish boils, cold beer. It's hot outside. Yeah. Everybody's having a cold beer. It's a thought, you know, of,
Well, a lot of people don't know what to do with those thoughts, and instead it brews and they think about it,
Right.
and then drinking becomes like a great idea, and there they go again.
Yeah, Yeah, muscle memory is a hell of a thing.
Yeah. Well, and it's also our neural pathways.
Yeah, we'll stick with muscle memory.
What Jill said.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and so we've been doing it so long, it's just common knowledge. We automatically go to that thought. But for those that just quit drinking, their neural pathways still go straight to that drink. They haven't, changed their thoughts or behaviors in the neural pathways in order to just go to something and do something totally different. And so, like I said, having a sponsor, having friends that are sober, going to a meeting, maybe that's like when you said having a vehicle, having a way out is really important. I never like feeling stuck somewhere in sobriety because that can be triggering for me, especially if I get somewhere and I start having a little anxiety and just for no reason.
No,
but
I can be stuck at a meeting. I get it.
yeah, I mean, it's just like, okay, gotta go.
Yeah.
And so that may be what you have to do. And I also want people to know, like, it is okay to advocate for yourself and leave. If you're honest with your family, your friends, and whatever you're doing, they will be okay with this. I mean, I certainly hope so, but that's what I had to do. I had to tell my family, like, I love you guys, but like this is triggering for me and I got to go.
And this part is where we talk about when you get to AA, you hear it a lot, but this is a selfish program. Now, there's a flip side of that. It's also a selfless program.
Correct.
Not to confuse the two. You have to take care of your recovery first, no matter what. It doesn't matter if grandma gets mad at you. It doesn't matter if mom gets mad at you. Those things will pass.
Right.
Continual relapse is what we're going to end up with if we don't start to draw boundaries and say, hey, I'm not feeling very comfortable, and if you're worried about if they talk about you after they leave, they're gonna.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. This is a selfish part of it. You got to protect your recovery, man. My sobriety date, and I get it. We stay in the rooms all the time. It's just a date. My sobriety date is so important to me, because number one, I cling to it because it was a major change in my entire life. But not only did my life change on June 21st, 2011, but the lives of a lot of people changed on June 21st, 2011.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my children's lives have completely been altered by that sobriety date. My mom and dad, maybe not as effective as the kids. Wendy, my ex-wife, her life completely changed on June 21st, 2011. For the better, maybe not for some of them, but it's different. And it's definitely headed in a direction that was better than the other one was headed.
Definitely more healthy.
Protect that sobriety date, at all costs, and it's not just a date. And another thing I would tell myself is I'm only been sober a month. I mean, it ain't like I'm going to lose a whole lot. But you just don't know what's going to happen on that drunk.
No, you really don't.
And I make this sound, Mike, you just asked me about the people offer me drinks, and I want to carry that a little further because I talk to a lot of people new in sobriety. I just started working at a treatment center, love that, but they're coming up to me and going, and this isn't even the holidays. This is, I'm leaving here. I'm going back to the home I live in. Everyone else drinks or uses. It's in my face constantly. I don't have anywhere to go. I have no money. That's tough. I mean, that's tough. And, it's I don't know what to say to them a lot of times. They go, what do I do? And it's hard to go leave. And they go, well, how? And it tears you up sometimes to go, yeah, you wonder how some people have even managed to have a little bit of sobriety in conditions like that. I'm very lucky. My family's very supportive, and they drink and things like that, but some of them, but for the most part, it's not a big deal. And
we're going to talk about that too.
Okay.
Family members that drink, loved ones that drink, not necessarily your family members, but life lived with other people that drink, right? But first, we're going to go to the big book. Let's listen. This is what the big book has to say about this particular subject, okay? And it's kind of lengthy, right? This is in the chapter working with others, almost towards, I guess page 100, 101. Assuming we're spiritually fit, we can do all sorts of things alcoholics are not supposed to do. People have said we must not go where liquor is served. We must not have it in our homes. We must shun friends who drink. We must avoid moving pictures. I'm guessing that's movies, which show drinking scenes. We must not go into bars. Our friends must hide their bottles. If we go to their houses, friends must hide their bottles if we go to their houses. We mustn't think or be reminded of alcohol at all. We meet these conditions every day. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind. So it's saying we can, this isn't necessarily what people think is how we should live if we are spiritually fit, assuming we are spiritually fit. First line, okay? An alcoholic who cannot meet them and still has an alcoholic mind, there's something the matter with his spiritual status, his or her spiritual status. His only chance for sobriety would be someplace like the Greenland ice cap, and even there, an indigenous person might turn up with a bottle of scotch and ruin everything. Ask any woman who has sent her husband to distant places on the theory he would escape the alcohol problem. It's our belief any scheme of combating alcoholism which proposes to shield the sick man from temptation is doomed to failure. If the alcoholic tries to shield himself, he may succeed for a time, but usually winds up with a bigger explosion than ever. We've tried these methods. These attempts to do the impossible have always failed. So we can't run from it. Right?
Nope.
Doesn't mean we have to tempt fate. We don't have to tempt ourselves.
Right.
We don't have to say, hey, let's just see what, none of that, The test, I guess, would be the best question. Let me test myself. I'm going to walk into this near bar, and there's
Not good. Not good.
And it goes off to, so our rule is not to avoid a place where there is drinking. We don't avoid it if we have a legitimate reason for being there, And it goes on. Talk about more and more about, you don't want to be that downer that sits there remembering the time when you could drink and all that other stuff, But that's basically what our big book says about it. But the very first sentence is assuming we are spiritually fit. That's a big assumption, right? Mm-hmm. So we gotta assume this person's spiritually fit. Now, what constitutes spiritual fitness? Have we had that podcast before?
I don't think so. But also, who's to say they're spiritually fit?
Yeah. I like to think I'm physically fit until after I carried that up here
walk up
upstairs
the
this
stairs.
morning. Tomorrow I'll wake up. Of course, I'm old, but
Stop. You are not old.
I mean, he is kind of old.
I'm waking up with these aches every day. I take blood pressure and cholesterol medicine on a regular basis.
That's when I get depressed. Forget all the parties and stuff like that and not being able to drink. Go stand at Walgreens to get a bunch of pills these days. I go into a depression. I'm like, oh, I get
Stop by and pick up some
pill.
Bengay on the way home.
It used to be a lot of fun with all the pills. Now it's like, oh, I got to get some cholesterol stuff,
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I swear.
Saw Matt popping 3 blood pressure pills.
He had 8 bottles of pills. They're all for, I don't know, but
Yeah.
nothing good. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's a weird game around the holidays and what do they call it? The silly season in AA, because it, and I think it's up to the individual as well. You kind of know where you're at and who you're with, and that's also been a big thing for me. And that is the people I do hang around that drink or whatever kind of know me and my situation, are supportive of it. So it's never like, it's not like we're spring break 96, and it's not that type of deal, but, so, I really don't give it too much thought these days. I did early on.
And it's easy for us not to, I can go to a business function, even I would say probably year 7 or 8, I would still pay attention to how much people drank. Mm-hmm. I couldn't even tell you if the last thing I went to had alcohol. I just don't, I don't have a clue.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It doesn't faze me. It doesn't bother me. I don't even pay attention to it. It's like it just...
Now, what about being in a relationship of any kind, not necessarily romantic? All right, this could be a mother, father, child, or a wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, any of the mix. What if they drink and you're new to recovery? You know, how do you deal with it? I know how I dealt with it. How do you deal with it, Matt? Or have you even had that experience?
Hadn't really had that experience. My ex and I both went to treatment at the same time, got off stuff at the same time. Now the recovery part was different for both of us. She did it a different way, but I just did my thing and she did hers. But as far as anything in our house or being, it being around me, yeah, I don't know how you handle that. I don't know that I could have handled it very early on, having it constantly, and it makes you wonder too. What I always wonder is, because I see how great my family is about it, but how supportive is somebody actually, if they don't have a problem, and can, of their own free will, I'm going to have some drinks. I don't know that I would sit around someone right out of treatment and just go to pounding drinks. And I don't see myself doing that. Almost, so I don't know. I don't guess I've had a lot of experience with that. My family's pretty chill about it, that we don't, they have a few drinks, but it's not in my face or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I've never experienced it, but I know a lot of people that have, and a lot of people that got sober that their spouses refused to stop drinking in their presence when they were newly sober.
Yeah.
I happen to find that incredibly disrespectful. And I know people that have gotten divorced because of that reason.
Yeah.
But no, I've never had that ever happen in my life.
There's for this particular subject topic, there's not a real clear answer. Not for me. Because I had this, early on in recovery, I had this thought process. Everybody in my life was supportive, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody, even people I wasn't close to was supportive. I would go to lunch with some peers, and ones that normally would order beer wouldn't order beer, and I know I say that we're at lunch and there's beer involved. Yes, that has happened. I never drank on lunch, but I probably hadn't sobered up from the day before.
What about breakfast?
yeah, I'm drinking breakfast. But there's also that thing that says I'm the one that has the problem. Mm-hmm. And if this person has to alter their behavior because of my problem, I'm just setting up a resentment.
Yeah.
I really don't want anybody to change because of me. I have the ability to walk away. I have the ability to not be there. I mean, it can be looked at from a whole different kind of way. I always looked at it as, if you change the way you do things because of me, there's going to be a day where you could possibly resent me.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't be who I want to be. And, so, hey, you be you and let me be me. I'm the one that has the problem. And then if I see that, that's getting in the way or whatever, then I've got to make changes, because I go back to protecting that sobriety date. I'm of no good to anybody drunk. I'm just not, and I like to think I've done a lot better for my fellow man and people in my life as a sober alcoholic, other than whenever I was drinking. So, there's that little caption in there that, we all face. But, going back to the holidays, I'm kind of like Jill. This is this going into this season, especially if you're a newcomer, man, just remember you don't have to do it alone. You just, none of this you have to do alone. And hang out at the club. I hung out at the club. Mm-hmm. I still hang out at the club. I love the club. There's, I'll say it on this podcast. I've said it on a couple of the others, but if you think alcoholics are boring, you have not been to a function, because this is where the hardcore party animals go to relax. It's right here today. And I know that sounds just whatever, but it is definitely not. They get wild up in there. It's just.
I'm fixing to fish with two of them today. Just going fishing. Okay. We're not even partying. They're off the chain, both of them, and I'm stuck between them all day. And I'm telling y'all, I might write a book about the junk that they pull on each other all day long. We have a great time.
Who are you going with?
My sponsor and another guy, Big Richard. My sponsor's nemesis in a bass boat.
I don't guess I know.
You don't know Big Richard. He's he quit drinking a long time ago. Didn't do a AA or anything, but just been sober a long time. And Big Richard, you know, he's wild, and I love it. So it's not boring.
No.
Oh, I bet not.
And
Sounds fun.
you actually find out the regular life, real life, is not quite as boring as, you know.
Yeah.
One thing, my life ain't as boring. It may be a lot of things,
Mine's
but I
definitely
am
not
never
boring.
bored, man.
I wonder, do any of y'all ever wonder how you had time to drink and drug?
God,
I don't. I just don't. Or and not only that, the effects produced by it. I
Or
mean, like the hangover, the withdrawals, the all of that. I just got up and I don't.
or how did I do all the stuff hammered? 'Cause
Well, yeah.
I can't do it sober. I'm like, how did I
Find
do
out
this
later
high as
Matt was a
kite?
pilot for many years. He didn't even know it.
That's news to both of us. Evidently, I was flying people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know now how, because I would sleep for days, and I just don't know how in the world I had time. You know, I guess you start doing adult stuff, you know, paying bills, mowing grass,
Yeah.
you know, painting your kitchen like you did, or, you know, just regular everyday going fishing with your friends, or changing out car parts, or just going to work. You know, I don't crazy.
Yeah, doing weird stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, but going into the holidays, you know, you've got Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. They call it the trifecta, you know, or the Bermuda Triangle, or whatever they call it, where you can get caught up in all that stuff. And I hung out at the club as much as I could, you know, stay close to my sponsor. You know, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing today, or I got invited to this, or I'm thinking about going to this. You know, my sponsor never told me no, never. It was more of a, how do you feel about it type situation. Tell me, you know, he spent 20 minutes talking to me, I guess, just to gauge where I was spiritually. You know, am I faking it so that I can get to go to this thing? You know, and we don't even know if we're faking it ourselves.
Right. Thing is, I don't know. I just don't really put myself in a lot of places I used to go. I like kind of just hanging out at the house and just doing stuff like the Christmas parties and all the events. I'm just not into anymore.
You said something good too, Mike, about your sponsor never telling you no. I think with good sponsors that have done the program themselves and they have a sponsor, mine does that. It's more of a, we're going to discuss it and you're going to talk it out loud and you're going to make your own decision. It's not, you know, you almost go, oh yeah, okay. After you've talked for a few minutes, you're like, yeah, this doesn't sound like a good idea. You know,
You're right. You're right.
And you take it better that way than somebody going, no, you don't go do that. You know, and that's the way mine does. So,
And that's definitely a good sponsor tool. You know, some of the ones you get somebody in and you be, you know, working with them and you've been going good for 6 months and you don't want to tell them no.
sure.
But it may not be the best thing. You just suggest, you know, hey, you know, this is, have you looked at all of your options?
When I didn't bring it up and then went on and did whatever it was, you know, like, and then you get the old, well, dumbass, how'd that work out for you? You know, I mean, so, you know,
Yeah.
And usually when I don't bring it up, that means I don't need to go, you know, when I don't want to discuss it. I'm already getting my answer.
Yeah,
so
you're already trying to hide
I don't even have to
something.
call, you know, it's like, can I go to this biker bar? You know, no. So anyway,
Can I go to this biker bar?
Can I go to Coyotes?
I was
gonna see if there's-
I was just thinking that. I've never even been. I drove by it before. I've never actually been to the place.
I think I've been once.
Well, apparently it's a real popular hangout back in the day. So, anything else on the holidays, guys?
Have fun. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Sober, that is.
Yeah.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just enjoy it and Irish exit when you're ready, just tail lights. That's it. You don't have to explain it.
If this is your first one, you just remember you got to get through a first one.
That's it. It does. It gets easier.
And it does.
Yeah, it's going to be a little awkward the first time you do anything in sobriety. It's always some uncomfortable stuff in order for you to grow, and that's just part of it.
And you're probably gonna learn to dislike the holidays more the older you get, no matter what. I just don't really. Maybe it's because of what I do for a living. I just, November and December, I'm usually out of pocket. Like the whole 60 days, I'm usually tied up. We got a lot going on now. Moving to this new area and the way we've changed a lot of the way we do all that at my place of employment. So it's not quite as it used to be, but it's still, it's still hectic. Still a lot of stuff going on. Did we have any? We have not gotten any emails, so there's no mail sack today. Yeah, it didn't sound right, did it, Jill? No mail sack. There's no voicemails. Still got we got that one voicemail from Amy C, and then we ain't got another one. So no email. You got any text or anything?
Just Judy and Larry. Just prayers for Larry with what he's got going on. Just some health stuff.
Man, I have been praying for Larry since the day I met Larry. I mean, not that he's a bad guy or anything. It's just
he's probably been praying for you too.
Yeah. Well, Larry was right behind me, so it's kind of like if I can't do anything, I'm going to pray for him. And he invited me one time to a treatment center, and I'm somewhere downtown off of Jordan, and I got to tell my story at, something that he used to go do every so often. But so our paths have crossed, just inadvertently over the years. I don't think we've ever sat through a meeting together. But I've always, prayed for Larry and Judy both, and they've just always been on my prayer list, and whatever they got going on. Of course, they're on my prayer list now.
Sure.
And a lot of times throughout the day, I hear from Judy, and she sends me updates on their life and what's going on. So, trying to figure out, let's see, what countries we're in now. I want to know what countries we're in, and I cannot pull it up for the life of me. We actually have 2,521 listens.
Wow.
Yeah. Now that's we've been doing this for 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been going since May.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we have been doing this, I think in 2 weeks, it'll be 6 whole months. And over the course of 6 months, of course, we've got listeners from here in the United States, Ireland, the United Kingdom, Taiwan. Is that Ann? Taiwan?
I think so.
Bulgaria, Australia, Denmark, Saudi Arabia, Canada, and the United Arab Emirates. And I'm not even sure how they got wind of it. We have 75 Spotify followers, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
That is, that's always, I love the whole, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot considering today's social media, but it's 75 people who listen to our show whenever we release a new episode. And
nice.
Among those, of course, is, you got Jane, and we got Amy down in Lacombe, Louisiana, and Larry and Judy, as we've already mentioned, and Kim and Rhonda, and Faye and Michelle, and we got Bree. Bree's, I think she went back and listened to some of our episodes. She sends me a text message every once in a while, some encouragement going on, and we also have the interact thing on here, so you can get on and interact with some of the cast. The cast sounds,
more like the inmates.
Some of the inmates on the show. And Matt, good to hear you working at the treatment center, man.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah, I'm super excited, and they said we got a part-time position, and I think I've talked on here before about God does what He does, and Matt just tries to get out of the way. And
best thing.
They said we've got a part-time position 2 nights a week, and the day I start, a full-time person's quit.
Oh, really? So you're full-time now?
Yeah.
Oh.
They said, "Can you work Monday through Friday?" I went,
Sure
"Absolutely."
can.
So,
got nothing else going on.
yeah, I mean, I didn't have much, a little fishing. So I said, let me check my Palm Pilot, like Cat Williams said.
Palm Pilot. I remember those.
Looks like I ain't doing shit.
Let me look at my Trio. See if anybody's got my pager. Matt carried a pager in junior high.
Man, I had pagers, dude. What you talking about, man? Remember when you could text bad words on pagers? I don't even know if it's text. Just you could put.
I don't even know how we did it.
I don't
either.
remember. I don't
Technology was way too advanced for me.
What, boobless?
yeah, that was one.
Yeah, you had to turn it upside down. 8008
Remember they had the pagers that would light up.
7355.
Oh my gosh.
I'm old.
Yeah. That ought to tell something. Says, hopefully there's a newcomer out there going, what's a pager?
There are probably a lot of them. That's
Yeah.
kind of scary, actually. But
Yeah, we lived in the days of pagers. You know, we should,
Megan and I were talking the other day, and I was like, "Do you remember micro machines? Remember those? The little cars?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Little bitty cars.
And the
Oh, man.
precursor to Transformers were these things called GoBots.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember those. Now I was probably 5 or 6 when the GoBots came out because I remember playing with those. So anyway, if you want to hear us or talk to us, area code 985-377-4816. We'd love for you to leave us a voicemail, and we'll play it on the air unless you tell us not to. And then we got the old email line, which is GNB Bossier, BOSSIER. GNBBossier@gmail.com. As always, we love to interact and talk. Shoot us a text if you have our number. Shoot a text to the 985-377-4816 number. We can play that on the air. You don't necessarily have to leave a voicemail if you don't want to be heard. We're up for any kind of communication. We love our audience. We love anyone that listens to the show. That's why we do it. So, but we're signing off now from Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana. This has been the Grouch and the Brainstorm.